Welcome, welcome, welcome. I would like to welcome you to another episode of the Unpopular Podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Hunter. And if you do me a favor, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, so anything will help. But here's where we'll start. So, of course, I'm going to do my weekly break or my week 3 breakdown of, the games in the NFL. But where I want to start is Monday Night Football. So the Cowboys destroyed the Eagles with 41-21. And even though, it's a 20-point game, the game was actually a lot. It wasn't as close as that. I know it's crazy to say, seeing as though the Eagles lost by 20, but it wasn't that close. But let me be honest about the game. Let me be real. It's not just the game. Let me be honest about what I saw on Monday. First and foremost, Dak is an elite quarterback. Is he top 10? Is he top 5? No. But is he a top 10 quarterback? I don't know. You can debate that. We can debate that in another episode. It is what it is. But Dak Prescott is a elite quarterback. And I say that because when you look at the Dak Prescott that we saw, his first year starting to now, he has improved drastically. He knows when to kill a play. His arm, his accuracy is crazy good. He's a solid quarterback. If you need to run, he's not the most mobile, but he can get out the pocket and run. Dak is a solid quarterback. And that was very apparent looking on Monday Night Football, looking at how he looked compared to how Jalen Hurts looked. Jalen Hurts, he was sacked several times. Of course, that's a lot to do with the offensive line, but a lot of that was also because he didn't know when to give up on the play. We know the big pick six that Trayvon Diggs had. Jalen Hurts it doesn't look, I know he's still young and early in his career, but it just doesn't look like he is good enough to be a franchise quarterback because of his decision making. Now, I'm not saying that's not going to change or that can't change, that can't improve. Hell, look at Josh Allen. Josh Allen, the first few years, looked like a garbage quarterback. A lot of people were saying he's going to be a bust in the league because of his accuracy problems, because of his interception problems. Now you look at Josh Allen, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but Josh Allen looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the league still. But I got it. And I always wonder how of course fans are going to be fans, you know what I mean? Like, fans are always going to ride for your team. I get that. I understand a fan is going to be a fan. That's just how fandom is. That's how it is. But I never understand, and it's not just fans, how people always say that this is Dallas's year, like Dallas is finally going to win the Super Bowl this year, or it's always something to that effect. Dallas is Dallas's year. Now, I get the fans. The fans, fan is short for fanatic. So you're going to ride for your team. But I never understand how people can be so, quote unquote, delusional, thinking that the Cowboys can win the Super Bowl. And then I got it. Monday Night Football, it hit me. Dallas has the luxury, right? Dallas is fortunate enough to play in a division that as we speak today is by far the worst division in football. Am I saying that the NFC East holds the worst team? No. Every team in the NFC East, even though the Giants are 0-3. Every team, or no, 1-3, 1-2, I think, or they're 0-3, 0-3. Now I'm not saying that they're not as bad as the Jaguars or the Jets or anything, but Dallas has the luxury of playing in the NFC East, and when you look at the NFC East, Dallas has a lot of the best, I guess you can say, in the NFC East. They have the best quarterback. You have Dak, Daniel Jones, Tyler Heineke, and Jalen Hurts. They have the best offensive line. They have the best receiving core. Due to Saquon Barkley's injury and how he's looked, of course, coming back from injury, Dallas has the best running back. And through 3 weeks of the season, which is surprising to me, Dallas has had the best defense in the NFC East. And I say that's surprising to me because I don't know if you remember, but I was on record, and of course, I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong. But I was on record saying that Washington was going to be the best team mainly because of their defense. But we'll talk about that a little later. That's not been the case. So I can say that for the first 3 weeks, Dallas has the best defense in the NFC East. And what Dallas does is they capitalize on being on the NFC East. They capitalize because I think Dak Prescott is 12-1 against the NFC East in his career. 12-1. So whether it's Washington, the Giants, Philly, the Dallas Cowboys, when Dak Prescott is playing, feasts on the NFC East. And because of that, people have a warped vision of the Dallas Cowboys. They think, well, because of Dallas Cowboys, it's like I'm trying to give you you know what it is? You ever have I'm not going to single out to women. So you ever have a guy group, right? A guy group, and there's 4 people in the group, and then you can always tell that there's one, like, he's the leader of the group. Like, he's I guess you can say he's the best looking guy in the group. You can tell that he's probably, his stature is a little bit higher in the group than everyone else, right? But don't let it fool you. When that guy gets out of the group and goes to a group where, he may not be the quote unquote best, that guy's true value, I guess you can say, is exposed. What do I mean by that? The Dallas Cowboys feast on the NFC East, which allows them to be in contention to be in the playoffs year after year after year after year. I mean, they're not a bad team. It's just they feast on the NFC East. And because of that, a lot of their deficiencies go without, like, you can, it's fine. You don't have to Mike McCarthy is not that good of a coach. He has situational awareness problems. He has clock management problems. Some of the plays they be dialing up, whether it's him, Kellen Moore, I don't know. It's just not the best. But because Dak is good, and because they're playing in NFC East, you can, it's cool. You can just let it be. But again, and let's go back to the male and the group analogy. We see year after year after year how good Dallas looks when they play against the NFC East, and the NFC East is the worst division in football. But what happens when Dallas plays a team outside the NFC East? Like, what happens when Dallas plays what was it? Now, again, I understand Dak wasn't there, but what happens when they play the Green Bay Packers? What happens when they play the LA Rams? What happens if they play any team outside of the division? That's a good team. I'm not saying like they can play the Jets and just look mediocre, but you can't say. We've seen what they look like against top tier talent, and it looks drastically different than what it does against playing against the NFC East. So this sounds like hate. I know it does. It sounds like hate. Jay, you're hating on the Dallas Cowboys. You're a Washington fan, so no. This is not hate. This is me being real. This is realism. This is me being honest. The Dallas Cowboys is not a bad team. They're not a bad team at all. They're a really good team. Don't get me wrong. But when you put them up against a Rams or Seattle or Green Bay or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, let's talk about that game for a second. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers game. Yes, Dallas lost, and it was a close game. But as you saw, Tampa Bay was able to make those timely plays. The timely plays where there's always a couple plays in the game that can win you or lose you a game. It seemed like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were able to make all those plays. Hell, Tom Brady was able to drive down with like a minute left and kick a field goal to win the game. Like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were able to make those plays that Dallas just weren't able to make. Even though Dallas did come back, they were not able to make the big plays in the big moments. You don't have to worry about that going against Tyler Heineke or going against Jalen Hurts or going against Daniel Jones in that defense. Like, you don't have to worry about that. There was a lot of plays. Let's go back to the Chargers and Cowboys game. There's a lot of plays that should have, like, they should have won. But because, I mean, and that's why the game was so close. If you look at rosters, and the Dallas Cowboys has a better team than the Chargers. But they weren't able to make the big plays. Or let me say this. The Chargers weren't able to make the big plays, but we also know that the Chargers have a long-standing history of not being able to make those big plays. So I'm not here discrediting Dallas. Don't hear me. If Dallas makes a long run in the playoffs, I will be the first person to come in here and give them their praise. And I'm also kind of giving their praise now. I mean, Dallas is a good team. Dallas is leaps and bounds the best team right now in the division. They will definitely be in the playoffs unless something catastrophic happens. But Dallas has been the best overall team in the NFC East. And Dak Prescott is an elite quarterback. If people that say that Dak Prescott, you can debate all day if he's top 10, top whatever. But what you cannot debate at this point is he an elite quarterback? Dak Prescott has shown that he's an elite quarterback. If you think he's not an elite quarterback, you just don't like Dallas, or you don't like Dak Prescott, or you just haven't really been watching. But he is an elite quarterback. Dak Prescott can be, at least it seems like he can be the quarterback of a championship caliber team. That's at least what it seems like throughout, or to this point of his career. But don't let it fool you. That's kind of the where I'm at with it. Don't let it fool you. You're gonna look good. A nice car is gonna look good. A nice new car is gonna look good in a junkyard. And the NFC East is a junkyard. But does that nice shiny car still look good at a car show? That is the Dallas Cowboys. It's the nice shiny Nissan. Let's say that. Dallas is the nice shiny Nissan in a junkyard. But how good is that Nissan going to look at a car show when you're going up against the Bradys and the Russell Wilsons, the Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jacksons? And I'm not just saying the quarterback. I'm not comparing Dak to those quarterbacks. I'm comparing the Dallas Cowboys to those teams. So, but with all that being said, congratulations to Dallas for winning, for beating the Eagles. Now, let me go over to the Eagles side before I conclude with this team or conclude with this game. I spoke to it, the Jalen Hurts. I think that Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. I just don't think that he has, I don't think that he's improved enough to be a franchise quarterback. And I'm going to there's like a basket of teams that fooled me. Teams that week one definitely fooled me. And the Eagles are most definitely in that basket. I'll talk about it a little later, but the Steelers are in that basket. The Philadelphia Eagles, they looked like gangbusters against the Atlanta Falcons week 1. I think they beat the Atlanta Falcons, like 32-6 in Atlanta. And I was like, or 32-3 or something like that. And I was like, this team, I came on here saying I may have been wrong about the Eagles. The Eagles looked great week 1. Their defense was explosive. Jalen Hurts and that offense looked great. And I was like, hey, maybe the NFC East isn't as bad as I thought. Maybe the Philadelphia Eagles can challenge to be atop the NFC East. Well, we sit here with week 3 concluded, and let me tell you all I need to know about let me tell you about the NFC. Let me tell you about the Eagles. Their head coach probably shouldn't be a head coach. Nick Sirianni? He probably shouldn't be a head coach. I don't know what he be talking about. I don't know the plays he be running. He doesn't really make adjustments like that. Shouldn't be a head coach. Their offensive line, they just lost another player for the season, unfortunately. So I hope he gets back better than ever. But their offensive line is god awful. A lot of those, I don't know how many times. If it kind of seemed like on Monday Night Football, it kind of seemed like every positive play that the Eagles had was brought back because of a holding call from the offensive line. Jalen Hurts was hurried damn near every play. It was bad, man. It was bad. Their defense, oh man, their defense. But going into the season, I was. A lot of people told me that I was I was unharshly. I was pretty harsh. Let me say this. I was pretty harsh to the Eagles. Saying that they didn't really have, talent at really any position, which isn't true. I mean, you have Devontae Smith, who's looked good or decent this year. Zach Ertz has looked okay this year. Rager. But even in that, man, the running, was it Miles Sanders, had 2 runs, and I don't think he rushed the ball the rest of the game. The Eagles suck. The Eagles are horrible, man. And I don't know where they go from here. Again, this is a first year coach, so of course he's gonna have another time. Now we have to see if he's gonna improve, because it could just be his first year. But it just doesn't seem good. He doesn't really seem like he's a head coach. So but the Eagles, man. Shouts out to Dallas for beating the Eagles. Let's continue the breakdown. We have the Tennessee Titans beat the Indianapolis Colts 25-16. This is starting to look like this is starting to look familiar as far as the Tennessee Titans. I think we're 3 weeks in, and Derrick Henry is about to rush for 400 yards. Or either he's close to rushing or just eclipsed 400 yards. No, he's close to getting 400 yards in week 3. So the Tennessee Titans are starting to do this, win the way that they win. Smash mouth football. Derrick Henry runs it up your throat. While you do have, now A.J. Brown is out with a hamstring. He's going to be out for a couple weeks. But you do have Julio Jones. So you're not really calling upon Julio to now. Of course, for fantasy owners, Julio, you not calling for Julio. Julio Jones is not there to be a top wide receiver. He's there to be a safety net. Their best player or their most important player is Derrick Henry, as we're seeing him getting 25, 26, 41 carries a game. So, but it is a good safety net to have Julio Jones, who at one point was the best wide receiver in the league for a while. So, and for the Colts, man, I don't. It kind of feels like beating a dead horse, man. That Carson Wentz is not good. Their offensive line, which has Quentin Nelson, who is arguably the best offensive lineman in the league, their offensive line is good. It's just the fact that Carson Wentz has not been good, and he's regressed tremendously since his before the injury. Let's say that. Their wide receiver core with T.Y. Hilton be out is really Zach Pascal and he's done his best, but with the defense, man, it's like when you're on the field so much because the offense can't capitalize on your turnovers and can't capitalize on the sacks, like you're gonna get tired. That's what happens with the Bears a lot. Your defense is so good, but your offense isn't matching. So it just, I feel bad for them. And they're 0-3 I'm not going to say solely, but mainly because of their offense. So, but like I said, the Tennessee Titans beat the Colts 16-3. The Atlanta Falcons beat the Giants 17-14. This was probably the hardest game to watch because both teams tried to lose. Both teams didn't really want to win. You're the Atlanta Falcons. You drafted what? Kyle Pitts 4th overall. And I think he only had like two or three receptions, and they didn't come until like the 4th quarter. And the Giants, man. Oh, and the Atlanta Falcons offensive line still garbage. Matt Ryan still isn't playing well, and their defense is still arguably the worst defense in the league. But the Giants, man. Again, you're not going to give up on Daniel Jones because it's week 3, but Daniel Jones, he's only had one good game, and that was against the Washington football team, in which they lost. Sterling Shepard got hurt, and he has been even though Kenny Galladay is supposed to be your best wide receiver, Shepard has been your best wide receiver, but he's hurt, so we don't know how long he's gonna be out. There's not a lot of positives. Saquon Barkley did have a solid game, but it doesn't really matter when you're playing behind arguably the worst offensive line in the league. So. And because you're playing playing behind the worst offensive line, yes, it was a good game. He had a decent game against the Falcons, but he hasn't, as in Saquon Barkley, hasn't done much this entire year. And of course, he's getting back from injury, so he's still trying to gain trust in that knee. But the Giants suck. And it goes back to the NFC East, man. The NFC East is not a good division. And the Giants, I'm starting to put the Falcons, even though the Falcons have talent, I'm starting to put the Falcons in that class with the Jets and the Jaguars. It's like if you lose to them, that's a problem. And the Giants lost to them, so there's that. I think that I was trying to find something good to say about the Giants, but there's not much. They're 0-3. And I think the worst part about being 0-3 with the Giants is they spent so much money. They spent so much money this offseason. They got the big Kenny Galladay. They tried to address the offensive line. They made some moves defensively. Like they spent all this money on the offseason, and you still are garbage. So, but shouts out to Atlanta, getting their first win. Which again, and what's more confusing about Atlanta and their usage of Kyle Pitts? You were comfortable enough allowing Julio Jones to leave. You you were comfortable enough allowing that man to leave because you knew Kyle Pitts was coming. And while Kyle Pitts is a tight end, he has a lot of receiver qualities. His speed, his catching ability, his ability to gain yards after the catch, his frame. You were cool enough because you said, "Well, we're losing Julio, but we still have Calvin Ridley. We're getting Kyle Pitts." And for the first few, for the life of me, I don't understand how he's being used the first few weeks, man. Now a lot of some of this frustration is, of course, because I drafted Kyle Pitts for my fantasy, but it's not just that, man. It's the fact that you're already okay. So the offensive line already sucks. You already have Calvin Ridley getting double teamed. It's like, why not use a quick tight end? You see how Darren Waller's being used. You see how Travis Kelce's being used. You see how George Kittle's being used. Why would you? And I'm not saying that Kyle Pitts is on their level at this point, but why would you not? He has all the skill sets of a Darren Waller. Why would you not use him more? It behooves me. But the Chargers, I think that the sound the alarm game that I'm starting to see is the Chargers and the Chiefs game. The Chargers beat the Chiefs 30 to 24. And a lot of people are starting to sound the alarm for the Chiefs. Like the Chiefs this is the first time that they are under 500, I think, in Patrick Mahomes' era. Of course, they're on a 2-game losing streak. Patrick Mahomes threw 2 interceptions, even though one of those interceptions was definitely Clyde Edwards-Helaire fault. Clyde Edwards-Helaire also fumbled the ball. They had 3 turnovers, and of course, when you're playing against a Justin Herbert in that offense, they're going to capitalize on said turnovers if they're not having a taunting penalty. But I'm hearing a lot of overreactions, like, the Chiefs are garbage, and this is the real Chiefs. Let me first say this. Chill out. The Chiefs ain't that bad. The Chiefs are gonna be fine. The Chiefs are fine. But I will say this though, and this is I said this last episode. Patrick Mahomes is the great equalizer. As far as Patrick Mahomes he's not the great equalizer. Patrick Mahomes is the great blanket. He's able, because he's so good, and because that offense is so good, he is able to cover and mask a lot of the deficiencies that the Chiefs have. The problem is, if he plays bad or has a bad game, or the Chiefs have some bad possessions, you kind of if the blanket is not blanketing, then everything gets exposed. And that's what happened on Sunday. Patrick Mahomes usually will make the big plays, usually doesn't have a lot of turnovers, usually makes crazy no-look passes. That's what he usually does, and it usually manifests in wins. But when you turn the ball over, when your offense stalls, then the problems are exposed. And what are the problems for the Chiefs? First and foremost, the Chiefs have the worst red zone defense in the league. If you're an opposing team and you're in the red zone, you're gonna score. That's just how you're gonna score. It's been like that for the last 2-3 years. It's just like I said, when Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, and it's okay. You can kind of overlook the deficiencies of the defense. Another problem, they don't have a running game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a small small running back who, at least for the last 2 games, has had a turnover problem. It's a problem when they use a lot of not a lot. They use Wildcat a lot, and they use Tyreek Hill a lot as some run packages, even though he's a wide receiver. Or McCole Hardman as a running back, even though he's a wide receiver. All of this is okay, and all of this, let me say this. All of this is not a problem when you have Patrick Mahomes playing at the level that Patrick Mahomes usually plays. When you get the usual Patrick Mahomes, doing the incredible stuff, getting 4 or 5 touchdowns, it doesn't matter if you're in a shootout because you have Patrick Mahomes, but you're in a shootout because the defense can't get big stops. It doesn't matter if your wide receiver, if your running back turns the ball over because you have Patrick Mahomes. Even if they score, you're going to come back and score right back. They were down, like 14-0 or like 17-3 or something. Came back, took the lead, and lost the game because the defense couldn't get big stops. Now, Patrick Mahomes, he did have an interception where it was kind of behind the whole no-look pass, even though the receiver touched the ball like with his hands. It was kind of behind it, so it was a tough pass. But let's just chill out on the Chiefs. The Chiefs suck. Patrick Mahomes, this isn't the Chiefs' year. Now this I will say that this year is a lot more tougher as far as the competition, but let's just chill out with the Chiefs. All right, the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes. This is the first time Patrick Mahomes had a bad game. You can say what about the Ravens game, but that really wasn't a bad game as much as a couple. And it goes back to this game. It goes back to the Chargers. A couple of mistakes cost them a game. Even and a couple of timely mistakes cost them a game, especially for the Ravens. For the Chargers, it was Patrick Mahomes was not able to mask the problems that the Kansas City Chiefs frequently face. Oh, and shouts out to Andy Reid. He went to the hospital after for like dehydration or something. Reports are he's out the hospital back home, feeling better. So shouts out to him. But the Chargers, the Chargers are a good team. Even though I feel they should have beat the Cowboys. They're 2-1 at this point. They're a good team. Justin Herbert is great. Mike Wallace or Mike Williams, I told you, if he stays healthy, look what he looks like. Keenan Allen, the running game is a good team. Their defense still needs some improvement, but Rashawn Slater has looked really good in the offensive line. Like it's a good team. So, but shouts out to the Chargers for beating the Chiefs, and for people, chill out with the Chiefs. Chill out with the overtakes and the Patrick Mahomes' garbage takes. Like, all right, chill out. Like, this is the same Patrick Mahomes has been in 2 straight Super Bowls. Won one, lost one, of course, but yeah. Whew. So the Bengals beat the Steelers 24-10. Ryan Clark made a good point. And a lot of TV analysts have made a good point talking about the Steelers. We kill teams for making organizational blunders or sticking with somebody too long. Like we kill teams for doing things that's not cohesive to winning for some reason. Like we kill the Houston Texans for this Deshaun Watson incident. Like this whole Deshaun Watson saga. Thinking like, why is he still on this team? This is week 3 now. He clearly showing no instant, like he's not coming back. So why is he still on the team? We're killing them for that. It will help the organization to get him off the team and get back something. We killed the Bears, and we'll talk about the Bears in a second, but we killed the Bears. We're killing the Bears for their treatment of the quarterback position. We're killing the Lions. We kill the Lions for their treatment of Calvin Johnson, who's not even there anymore. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's loyalty. I don't know what it is. But it seems like the Steelers are the last team to the part or to this the last team to this Big Ben doesn't have it anymore party. I don't know what game film they're watching. I don't know what I don't know what it is. And why did I talk about all these other teams and we kill them, right? Everyone knew. Everyone, even Steelers fans knew that Big Ben he doesn't have it anymore. Last year, I don't know. I guess it was that 11-0 start, but Big Ben has not had it for a while now. Big Ben can't throw the ball downfield. He's not mobile at all. And the thing that made him quote unquote Big Ben was the thing that he did better than a lot of people was he was able to take contact and not go down because of his size. That's not the case anymore. And you look at them losing to the Bengals 24-10, and you can people say, wait, what was their defense? A lot of their key defensive players, like T.J. Watt, was out, and we're starting to see that Big Ben cannot pick it up. And if you look at their offense, man, outside of their offensive line, because their offensive line is horrible, but Najee Harris had a good game, but it was Big Ben. And their offense is not that bad. You have Juju Smith-Schuster. You have Claypool. You have Johnson. You have Najee Harris. It's just Big Ben. And it's starting to become organizational malpractice that you continue to, I don't know if it's insanity. I don't know what it is, but you're continuing to tell the fans that Big Ben is the answer. When everyone in the organization, well, no, let me not say the organization, everyone, all the fans, everyone that's watching football can see that Big Ben does not have it anymore. He does not have the arm strength. He's never been a mobile quarterback, but now more than ever, he is not a mobile quarterback. He is hurting the team. He is a big reason why the Steelers are 1-2. Him and that offensive line, but him a lot of the cases him. I'm not understanding. Roster-wise, the Steelers are a better team than the Bengals. That's why I was hesitant to put the Steelers right now are the worst division in the NFC AFC North by a wide margin. And a lot of that is because of Big Ben. I'm not trying to trash Big Ben. I'm not trying to trash the Steelers organization. I'm telling the truth. There's no way that you can look at look at the season, look at last year. You know what? This is what you have to do. This is what people have to do. This is what the Steelers organization has to do. Put your blinders on. Let's not look at that. Let's not look at the record, okay? Let's not look at last year's record. Just look at the game film. Look at everything that we saw last year. Don't look at the record. Look at everything we saw last year and look at everything that we're seeing this first three weeks of the season. Do you think, forget the legacy, forget the name, do you think Big Ben has played like a franchise quarterback that can win you a team, by the way, that is a good team? Has Big Ben been the quarterback that can get you to where you need to go? If they say yes, then hey. Hey, okay. And this is one of the biggest reasons why I was so confused and skeptical about Najee Harris. I'm not saying Najee Harris is a great running back. He's a really good running back, all-time great at Alabama, great running back. He was the best running back in the draft. I understand it. You lose James Conner, I get it. But one of the biggest reasons why James Conner and the running game in general was so bad last year was because of their offensive line. And you did very little to address that in the draft when the draft was littered with great offensive linemen. That's kind of the reason why I was so confused and questioned the Jamar Chase pick for the Bengals. Now, Jamar Chase has been really good this year. Don't get me wrong. Jamar Chase has been great this year. As far as the regular season, because we know how bad he was, off season and in the preseason, as far as dropping the ball. But Jamar Chase has been great this year. But the questions and the problems that I have with the Bengals are still there. Joe Burrow be running for his life. So I thought that, with Rashawn Slater there, with Penei Sewell, you can at least, it'll be better. With the Steelers, man, Big Ben is the problem. And I get the whole legacy thing. I guess I get the fact that you don't want him to go out sad or whatever like that. But Big Ben is the problem. And the worst part about it is this is a good team. Outside of the offensive line, this team is talented enough, when healthy, to be a Super Bowl caliber team. The reason why it's not a Super Bowl caliber team is because of Ben Roethlisberger. There's no other way to put it. Big Ben is costing them a chance to make noise, not only in the AFC in general, but the AFC North. They're the only team in the AFC North with a losing record. And if you look at their team in general, you could argue that they are the second best team in the division as far as if you just look at their team and their roster. But because Big Ben has been Big Ben, they're 1-2. Bro, did you see the meme going around of Big Ben trying to run right and throw and like him tripping over himself? Oh. It's bad, man. It's bad. And the Steelers are not going to go anywhere if they continue to put all their eggs in the Big Ben basket. And that's the thing. What you're hoping at this point is Dwayne Haskins is your future. This would have been if you wanted to go with a positional player, this would have been the year. This draft would have been the year to get a quarterback, because if you're looking, it's not looking too good this year. It's not. These quarterbacks ain't looking too good. So You're hoping and praying that Dwayne Haskins is the guy, even though we've seen Dwayne Haskins be that guy, and what came about it. Now I understand it's Washington, but a lot of the reasons why Dwayne Haskins didn't work in Washington was off the field issues. And you're hoping that Dwayne Haskins is your future, which even on the field, his decision-making isn't the greatest. So the Steelers are in a tough position. But they're in a tough position because they put themselves in this position. Still putting their eggs in that Big Ben basket, man. It don't make no sense. Damn, it don't make no sense. I think it's just, I'm not even a Steelers fan. It's just frustrating to watch because everyone outside of the Steelers organization, from the fans to the analysts to other teams, know that Big Ben is done, over the hill. Yet the Steelers are still trying to trot out Big Ben when they should have gave up on him last year. And as quiet as it's kept, you could have gave up on him a year before last. because the decline started. It didn't just start last year. Again, do not look at that 11-0 start, because a lot of that was because they had a high-powered defense. And they were doing a lot of slants and a lot of 10-yard passes that, Claypool was turning to 50 yards. Johnson was turning into 50 yards. Like, it really wasn't because of Ben. So, but yeah, shout out to the Bengals for being. So, the Browns beat the Bears 26-6. This I think this is probably the noisiest game of the week. I say noisiest because of the noise that's coming out of this game. Now shouts out to the Browns, but this game was not about the Browns. This game was about the Bears. It was about the fact that Justin Fields had his first career start. Now, how did it go? Oh man. I will say this. Justin Fields looked better than I thought he would his first career start against a defense that is the Browns. Now, with that being said, I'm not saying he looked good, but he looked better than he didn't look like he didn't look like he was too big for, or the moment was too big for him. Let's say that. He didn't look scared or anything. He looked good for him. Now, with that being said, I talked about the Giants' offensive line being probably the worst, and we'll talk about Seattle in a second, but that Bears offensive line, Justin Fields was sacked 9 times. And sometimes when you look at that, you think, all right, well, a lot of those sacks were because, he probably tried to extend the play too long. He probably he was holding the ball too long. He could have, sometimes rookie quarterbacks kind of run into sacks, even, like they'll go into a pocket or stay in the pocket longer than they're supposed to. That you see that a lot for rookie quarterbacks or younger quarterbacks. And that's the thing that was so concerning to me on Sunday, was that wasn't the case for Justin Fields. Probably 8 out of those 9 sacks were just the offensive line just broke down. Like, he would hike the ball, and within 1 second, there's Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett had 4.5 sacks on the day, I think. Myles Garrett alone. That offensive line was terrible, and a lot of people are now killing Matt Nagy. I mean, you heard Dan Orlowski on was it? I think he got on Get Up. They're calling for Matt Nagy's job. Now, I'm not one to call for anybody's job unless it really needs to be, they really need to go. And I will say that it is a little, and we talked about this last episode, it is a little weird to me that even after the game, he's pretty much saying that, all 3 quarterbacks are in play to play on Sunday, meaning Justin Fields, Nick Foles, who is their backup, and Andy Dalton, which doesn't make sense to me. Like, dude, does that mean that all 3 of them are getting first team reps in practice? I don't understand. And there were some situations, in some of the play calling that just, it didn't really seem like they were making adjustments or improving throughout the game, which I understand why people will be calling Matt Nagy's job. Not to mention that the Bears as a team should not be 1-2. I mean, they did have a tough schedule out, but they shouldn't be 1-2. But I get that. But it's hard to not look at what I saw. I mean, I saw how bad they looked. I mean, that offensive line, the Bears offensive line. And a lot of that was not on Daniel Jones. I mean, not Daniel Jones. A lot of that was not on Justin Fields. A lot of that wasn't Justin Fields, extending a play too long. It was he literally had no time, like none. So the Bears are in a tough spot, man, because if you don't fix that offensive line, it don't matter if Justin Fields is back there. It don't matter if Joe Montana's back there. It doesn't matter if Tom Brady's back there. If that offensive line doesn't get addressed or fixed, ain't no success coming in Chicago, like none. But the only positive I can say out of that was Justin Fields didn't look like the moment was too big for him. He wasn't trying to force anything. I think he did have an interception, but it was probably because he was running for his life. So, that's that, man. I just don't. That offensive line is horrible. So, 9 sacks, and most of those sacks, if not all of those sacks, were because of the offensive line. It wasn't because of Justin Fields, which is crazy to me. So, the best ending, I guess you can say, was the Ravens and the Lions. Now, the Ravens beat the Lions 19-17, and going into this game, the Ravens all season have been dealing with injuries, like from Marcus Peters to the damn near the entire running game. Like they've dealt with all injuries pretty much. And going into this game, there was more, like their offensive lineman was out, of course the running backs, and there was a couple of defensive players. So this was one of those games where I wouldn't be surprised if they lost this game, even though the Lions are the Lions. The Lions have been playing hard. The Lions had a chance to beat the Green Bay Packers last week. I wouldn't have been surprised if the Ravens lost this game. Also, a lot of key players are injured, like especially on the defensive side of the ball with Jared Goff. I would not have been surprised if the Ravens lost this game, and it was looking like the Ravens were going to lose that game. It was a slugfest. Lamar Jackson, he did what he could do. Marquise Brown, bro, dropped 3 crucial passes, 2 of which were touchdowns. Like he dropped, like hit his hand and just dropped. I'm like, bruh, you gotta. That's why Rashad Bateman and Boykins and getting that receiving core healthy is so vital for the Ravens, because when you have that happen, bruh, they lost. So the Ravens won 19-17. You put 2 more touchdowns, it's a blowout. The way that it ended didn't have to be how it ended. If you would have just catched the ball, Marquise Brown. But again, going into the game, I wouldn't have been surprised if the Ravens lost this game, seeing as the CVS receipt that is their injury report. But because of the big play from Lamar Jackson, timely plays from Lamar Jackson, timely plays from the defense, and of course Justin Tucker kicking the longest field goal in NFL history at 66 yards, they won. Now, a lot of people are going to talk about the 66-yard kick, which they should. Justin Tucker has kind of cemented himself in being one of the greatest kickers ever. From when we talk about accuracy to just availability, Justin Tucker is one of the greatest kickers of all time. I'm not saying he is the greatest. Of course, you can throw out Adam Vinatieri. There's a lot of great kickers, but Justin Tucker is definitely up there. And when I think it's not a question that he is. I think they asked him a question after the game, like, "Are you the greatest?" And he said, he needs a little longevity, but he does feel like, he didn't say it, but I feel like he's on that trajectory to be the greatest kicker ever. Again, he's automatic. That's anybody that hears Justin Tucker's name understands that's pretty much automatic. But let's not. Yes, the longest kick in NFL history was great, and I'm not saying, don't take away from that. But let's look at, a lot of people will look at that game and not look at the great play from Lamar Jackson. Again, your pretty much number one receiver at this point dropped 2 passes, and if it wasn't for him converting a 4th and 19 to Sammy Watkins, that kick wouldn't have mattered. In fact, that kick wouldn't have happened. 4th and 19. Shouts out to Lamar Jackson. Shouts out to the Baltimore Ravens. They played a hell of a game. And, it's 66 yards is nothing to scoff at, seeing as though it is the longest kick in NFL history. So shouts out to them. The Saints beat the Patriots 28-13, and I talked about this last episode. We don't know what this. At least these first 3 weeks, you don't know what Saints you're going to get. You don't know if you're going to get the Saints from week 1 or you're going to get the Saints from week 2. Those are two drastically different Saints. And the Saints that we got was, Jameis Winston didn't lose in the game. He had a really good, crazy touchdown that he had where he was pretty much draped. They had a defensive player draped on him, and he still did it. And what we're starting to see is what we thought we would see: is Mac Jones is not ready to be a starting quarterback. That defense is good. The running game is good, even though they did lose. Harris? They did lose their running back. Looks like for the season. So I hope that he recovers well. But Mac Jones is not a starting quarterback right now. And they're 1-2, and it shouts out to the Saints, and the Saints played a really good game, but which is why the build up to me is so funny. I get it's the return of Tom Brady coming back to Gillette. I get that, I understand the history and everything, and I understand, of course, they're going to big it up. But for people that think that's going to be a good game, no, the Patriots are going to get destroyed. Just know that. So, but shout out to the Saints for beating the Patriots. Cardinals beat the Jaguars. That's nothing. The Cardinals are now 3-0. I think Kyler Murray is in the running to be MVP at this point. Trevor Lawrence did look better this game, but he did have a pick six. The Jaguars as an organization or as a team in general are pretty bad, so I expected that. I talked about this earlier. Don't let week one shouldn't warp your entire thinking of a team. And that statement is beyond true right now when we're talking about the Buffalo Bills, because the Buffalo Bills beat the Washington football team 43-21. And kind of like last night, or kind of like Monday Night Football, even though the Bills won by 22, the game was not that close. The Bills are one of the best teams in the AFC. Don't let that first game fool you with the Steelers, because we see what the Steelers look like now compared to what the Bills look like. The Bills just put up I think they're averaging like 40 points a game right now. Like 30-something points a game. I know the last two, they had 30-plus points in each game. Josh Allen is looking like Josh Allen. Emmanuel Sanders looking big. Stephon Diggs is looking big. Devin Singletary is looking important. Their defense is looking good, which was their weakness. The Bills look good. The Bills look like the team that I thought they would be going into the season. I thought that they would be. I wouldn't be surprised if they were in the AFC Championship. I predicted that they could definitely get to the AFC Championship, if not make it to the Super Bowl. And they're looking like it. At least the first 3 weeks outside of week 1, they're looking good. The Washington football team. I'm not surprised the offense looks like how it looks. Tyler Heineke is still a backup. We even going into the season, I was so confused as to why are you trusting your organization. That to me is a really good roster. Why are you trusting that to Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tyler Heineke and Kyle Allen? That was my question. What is surprising to me, as we sit here 3 weeks in, Washington is 1-2. What's surprising to me is how god awful that defense is. And I would understand if it was just the secondary. Our secondary isn't the greatest, But I would understand if the defensive front was good, still getting sacks and stuff. It's just the secondary wasn't good. No, it is the entire defense from the front, like from the secondary to the defensive front. The defense in general is horrible, has been horrible. They were horrible all 3 games. They were horrible in the win against the Giants because Daniel Jones looked like Michael Vick. They were horrible giving up big plays against the Chargers. And Josh Allen shredded that team. Like it looked like one team was playing on Hall of Fame mode, the other team was playing on rookie. That's how easy Josh Allen made it look. The biggest reason why I thought Washington was going to win the division, or at least make it into the playoffs, was because their defense was supposed to be so great. When you have Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Jonathan Allen, Durain Payne, like I thought y'all were gonna be, Holcomb. I thought y'all were gonna be. I thought Washington's defensive front was going to be able to carry them. Their defense as a whole has been awful. In fact, surprisingly, their defense as a whole has been their worst unit. And that is even with Tyler Heinicke starting. And that offensive line. Their defense has been their worst unit. And the problem is the offense at this moment is not good enough to mask the defensive deficiencies. So a lot of that on Sunday was the Bills, the Bills being a great team. But a lot of what we've seen throughout the first 3 weeks for Washington is their defense has been horrible. Now, of course, you can turn it around. I mean, you have the defensive rookie of the year last year, that is Chase Young. But what we've seen has been horrible. So, yeah. The Broncos beat the Jets 26-0. The Broncos are 3-0, but every team that they've beat this year is combined 0-9. But shouts out to Teddy Bridgewater. He's been good. Melvin Gordon's been good. That defense has continued to be good. And the Jets, I mean, again, week after week after week, it's just the Jets are bad. They're off. Every unit is bad for the Jets. For the offensive line, the running game, the defense, the wide receivers, the coaching staff has. I mean, I can't really say the coaching staff has been bad because I don't know what you have to work with. Zach Wilson, high turnover rate again. The Jets suck. So the Raiders beat the Dolphins 31-28. That was an overtime thriller. I think they were down 14-0. Derek Carr brought him back. Got to overtime, like I said, and it was a walk-off field goal. So shouts out to the Raiders. I haven't been wrong about Derek Carr, and I haven't really been wrong about the Raiders. What I will say is this: I think that we have to wait for the Raiders. I will say, okay, and me saying I'll say this: I did not give the Raiders as much credit as I think that they have deserved throughout this first 3 weeks. I mean, they're 3-0. Derek Carr has looked really good. That's another person kind of like Dak Prescott. Derek Carr is an elite quarterback. I think that because of the roster the roster that's been that is the Raiders, because of the record that is attached to his name, a lot of people think that he's not that good or he's not elite. But kind of like Dak Prescott, Derek Carr is an elite quarterback. I mean, he makes big plays. He makes timely plays. He makes big throws. He's an elite quarterback. Am I saying he's top 5? No. At least he's been top 5 this season. But am I saying in totality he's a top 5? I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that Derek Carr has been really good. He's been a great, great quarterback this year. For the Raiders in general, man, I just say we have to wait. Because the Raiders always, now they're not always 3-0. I think this is the first time since 2007, I think they said. They're not always 3-0, but the Raiders are always a good team in September with John. Let me say with John Gruden. Let me not say always, but with John Gruden, they've been really good teams they've been like one of the better teams in September. It's just how do they look in the middle of the season towards the end of the season? Like last year, they were really good. A lot of people think that they could have made a deep run in the playoffs the first 4 or 5 weeks. Then it just took a steep decline. So I just say wait on Again, they looked really good. They looked better than I thought they would this season. So shouts out to them. Again, the Dolphins is not a bad team. Even though they had Jacoby Brissett playing instead of Tua due to injury, the defense had a pick six. They looked good. Their defense is still really good as far as in the Dolphins, but I think that we should hold off on what the Raiders really are. I will say that I was wrong in the fact of I didn't think they would be as good as they are right now, but I want to see can they continue this? Will it continue? How are they going to look week 7, week 9, week 15? You know what I mean? Not to mention they have a tough game against the Chargers next week. So how are they going to look? But again, shouts out to the Raiders for beating the Dolphins 31-28. The Vikings beat the Seahawks 30-17. Now, on paper, you look at the schedule. I mean, you look at the Vikings. You think this is a bad loss. Well, let me say this: there's no reason the Seahawks should have lost to the Vikings. But I will say the Vikings did lose 2 really close games. The first game they should have won. They missed the kick against the they missed the kick against the Arizona Cardinals. If both games would have went their way, they would have been 2-1 or 2-1 at this point, or 3-0 actually. But when you look at the Seattle Seahawks, man, what are they without Russell Wilson? Russell Wilson, again, it goes back to the Damian Lillard thing. It's like this team is only as good as Russell Wilson takes them. Their offensive. This is the second game in the row they had a second. This is the second game in the row they had a second half collapse. They were up big this game. They were up. They had 17 points at halftime, and did nothing in the second half. Their offensive line broke down. Their defense could not stop Kirk Cousins. Again, this is the second week in a row that it doesn't matter how good Russell Wilson is. DK Metcalf looked like Calvin Johnson the first half. The second half, it seemed like the entire receiving core could not create separation. Chris Carson looked like a young Marshawn Lynch the first half. Second half, he couldn't get a 2-yard run. That also is because of the offensive line. So again, that's my biggest problem with Seattle. It's like if there's so many factors going against them, or going against, I guess you could say, Russell Wilson. Their offensive line is horrible. Their defense has its moments, even with Bobby Wagner, even with Jamal Adams. Their defense has their moments, but their defense is not consistent. And after these first 3 weeks, even though Russell Wilson has played really good, they should be 1-2 because of second half collapses. So, I mean, yeah. The Rams beat the Buccaneers 34-24. A lot of people are saying that this could potentially be the NFC Championship preview. I think that it was. I mean, you're down a lot of players. I know Antonio Brown didn't play. You're down a bunch of corners. That is the Bucs. So going into SoFi Stadium, the electric, I said that that game was probably going to be Matthew Stafford's biggest game because he's never, unless it's like Thanksgiving, he's never really been in fact, no, he's never been in a game, at least a regular season game, this important, this big, with this much at stake. I understand it's week 3, but you're going against you're a team that has a very big shot to win. It's not like the Lions where, your biggest game is, of course, Thanksgiving or maybe 1 year you lose the game, but another team loses as well, so you make it to the playoffs just to get blown out week 1. This was a big game for Matthew Stafford, and he looked incredible. I think that the team as a whole was like 10 for 15 on third downs. Like at the Cooper Kupp is emerging as one of the top as a top wide receiver in the league. Robert Wood was great. Deshaun Jackson had one of his signature long touchdown catches. Tyler Higbee was looking great. Sonny Michel was looking great. Like the Bucks, an injured Bucks, because a lot of players were hurt. They ran into a buzzsaw that was the Rams. Like I don't know too many people that would have went into SoFi Stadium on Sunday and won, seeing as though they were firing on all cylinders, man. And I'm not saying that because of this, the Bucks are now gonna suck. I know that they're bringing in Richard Sherman, so we'll see if they get a deal done with that. Also, the Chiefs, I forgot to mention, the Chiefs are bringing in or signed Josh Gordon. I hope this works. I'm one of those people that I believe in second chance, even though he's had multiple chances. I don't want to see people fail. I don't want to see people's addictions and see people's quote-unquote demons affect their daily life and have a hindrance to their daily life. So, a lot of people, make jokes and bash Josh Gordon for ruining a lot of opportunities. But I want everyone to succeed. I want everyone to win. So I hope that, this next stint, which is the Chiefs for Josh Gordon, works. But back to the Buccaneers. I said their biggest weakness was their cornerback position, and Sunday they lost two more. It was they were losing people left and right. But even fully healthy, I don't know if anybody would have went into SoFi Stadium and beat the Rams, how good they looked on Sunday. So, and I think the best game this on week 3 was the Packers and the 49ers. I think this is probably one of the best games I've ever seen the Packers play in recent memory. And I say that because the Packers are really known to be more of a finesse type team. And that's easy. When you have Aaron Rodgers, you have Devontae Adams, Valdez Scantley, Alan Lazard, Aaron Jones. Like you're a high caliber team, you're a high scoring team. And as we've seen, they're not, even though they have Za'Darius Smith when healthy, or the Preston or Smith brothers, they're not really a physical team. They're not really a team where if they get smacked in the mouth defensively, they're not really ones to smack somebody else back in the mouth outside of the offense, And going into this game, I thought that it was going to be like 2019. 2019 on, the San Francisco 49ers is the better overall team than the Green Bay Packers, and it showed. I mean, Green Bay was going up and down the field. Aaron Rodgers looked incredible. They were, killing them over the top with Valdez Scaling. I know he had a touchdown in a big play. Alan Lazard had a big play. And, of course, Devontae Adams was Devontae Adams. The Green Bay Packers look like the Green Bay Packers outside of even though their defense, you lose your second best defender because Jaire Alexander is their best defender. You lose your second best defender in Za'Darius Smith. I just thought that they were going to get pushed. I mean, the offensive line, the team in general, that is the 49ers, is a better team than the Green Bay Packers. And I think the only question was, of course, Jimmy Garoppolo. But Jimmy Garoppolo looked good. I know Trey Lance had a rushing touchdown. It looked good. The problem is, it's just the moments, man. Hey, news flash to the league, right? News flash to everybody in the NFL. Every single person in the NFL. two things. One, do if Aaron Rodgers has any time at the end of a game, anytime, you're going to lose the game. Or you have a very, very, very high percentage of losing that game. If you have any workable, if Aaron Rodgers has any time to work with down, you're going to, he had 38 seconds and won the game. Also, newsflash to all the other teams in the league. If there's a big play that needs to happen, if there is a big moment, Aaron Rodgers, you know what? Let me get closer to the mic. I know it's probably going to distort the sound, but let me get closer to the mic. Hey, league, if there is any big play, any time Aaron Rodgers or the Green Bay Packers needs a big play, he's going to number 17, Davante Adams. I don't understand how teams don't start doubling that. And he's like, but you have Valdez-Scantling, you have Alan Lazard, you have Robert Tonyan. Yeah, all of them, none of them are Davante Adams. None of them. And as you see, time and time again, if Davante Adams is healthy and on the field, he is getting the ball late in games. Aaron Rodgers is giving him the ball. Hell, Davante Adams looked like he was out for the count with that blatant targeting that wasn't called. And that's another thing. The refs this week was wild, man. It was not just that game, but in general, it was wild. But they missed. They were calling everything ticky-tack, but they missed a blatant targeting call on Davante Adams, and they still won. That was probably one of the more entertaining games. Again, it's unfortunate that the 49ers won, but that was a good game all around. Again, I will say that some of the question marks to take out of it was Green Bay, I think, was up big. I think they were up like 17 and came back and they made the 49ers made a game. Also, on top of that, the 49ers were down 15 points or 17 points, I believe. Like, how? No. But that was a good game, man. That was probably the best game out of the whole week. And moving forward, I'm excited to see what happens or what comes out of week 3 of the NFL. So, that was all the games. So, it's moving forward. Oh, man. So let's talk a little bit college football. So, we're in week 5? Week 4? Week 4, or this week will be week 5. And things are starting to shake up how they're shaking up. I mean, Alabama is just beat a team, Southern Mississippi, 63-14. Oklahoma, I'm starting to realize Oklahoma, even though they keep winning, they aren't winning the most beautiful ways that they're winning. I mean, this is yet another close game, even though Spencer Rattler did throw for 256 yards. They did not look good against West Virginia. The same West Virginia that lost to Maryland, which I don't understand. I think Maryland's undefeated and still not ranked. I don't know. But college football is starting to shake up. We know the top team, other top teams, Penn State looks good. Ohio State, even though they did lose to Oregon, they look good. Florida looks good. Oregon, again, they just beat Arizona 41-19. Iowa looks good. But the question, the team that's been the most disappointing, let's say that, leaps by far, has been Clemson. Clemson, as we speak right now, is 2-2. And the reason why Clemson has been the biggest disappointment is because of their offense. Their defense has been dominant. Their defense has been the same defense that we're used to seeing from Clemson. The Dabo Swinney defense. The defense has not been the problem. Now, going into this game, or going into Saturday, you would think, okay, they only lost to Georgia, and right now you can argue that Georgia is looking like the best team, like leaps and bounds. Like Georgia is destroying anybody they see. Georgia, I wouldn't be surprised if Georgia wins a national championship. And that's even with Alabama looking okay or looking good, Oregon looking how they look. Georgia looks like a different animal this year. So you would think, okay, they lost to Georgia first game, and they only lost 10-3 because of how good the defense looked. You know, we can. There's still a shot for Clemson to make the college football playoffs. Maybe it's first game that DJ a ukulele. He's first game that he starting under his regime. I would understand. And then, of course, next week, smacking South Carolina State, 49-3. I'm like, okay, they're back. But then you play Georgia Tech, and you only score 14 points. You won 14-8, and Georgia Tech had a chance to win and should have won. They kind of threw that one up. But then you lose to unranked North Carolina State. And you lose in overtime 27-21. I will say this. It's tough coming from, you're coming from look at the trail that's been left last few. You go from Deshaun Watson, one of the best Clemson quarterbacks we've ever seen, to Trevor Lawrence, one of the best Clemson quarterbacks we've ever seen, to DJ Ukulele. Now, again, it's still early, but it's not looking. He is having a tough time moving the ball down the field. And it's not just that. A lot of people don't really understand how important Travis Etienne was for that team. You're starting to see. Travis Etienne was huge for this team. Yes, Trevor Lawrence was Trevor Lawrence, but Travis Etienne was major for Clemson. Clemson, while they're ranked 25th right now, I'm surprised that they're ranked. And looking at their schedule, because they have a tough time moving the ball, it's going to be tough to, even though it's blasphemy to say, there's a good shot that Boston College beats Clemson. I think that the Clemson that we're used to is done. I understand Clemson, their defense is still okay. Their defense is still their defense. But the Clemson that we clearly won't see Clemson making it to the Final Four this year. But the Clemson that you always go into, or a Dabo Swinney Clemson that you always expect to go into a season having championship aspirations, I don't think we're seeing that again. Because of a lot of people that left and because of the people that they have. Not saying that DJ Ukulele is bad or anything, but he's not, at least he hasn't seemed to be able to carry an offense like a Deshaun Watson, like a Trevor Lawrence, even like a Travis Etienne. So that's probably the biggest two takeaways I have right now is the Clemson that we're used to is done in college football, and Georgia is beaten. They just beat Vanderbilt 62-0. Now I know it's Vanderbilt, but Clemson. Georgia ain't playing no games with nobody. I would not be surprised. That Georgia-Alabama game might be one of the biggest games in college football history. That's what is looking like. So that's some college football talk for you. It's moving on. The WNBA playoffs are still underway. Shouts out to the Phoenix Mercury and shouts out to Chicago Sky for beating Minnesota Lynx and the Seattle Storm to make it to the semifinals now. And it goes back to, you've heard my gripes with the 1-game elimination. Seattle and Phoenix, that was a great game. That went to overtime. I think Seattle went on like a 15-0 run. Like Jewel Lloyd was playing incredible. Sue Bird was playing incredible. A lot of people have been trying to retire Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi for a minute. After the game, they did the jersey exchange, and you're seeing a whole bunch of if this is Sue Bird's last game type, which it could be. I mean, she is a veteran in the game. She's been there for a minute, and of course, she even alluded to this could be her last year. But again, the single game elimination jump just doesn't sit right with me. Seeing as though, and I understand injuries are part of the game, but Breonna Stewart didn't play. Like she was nursing an injury, so I think the game would have went a lot different if Breonna Stewart played. But that does not take away from how good that the game was, and it was good. Skylar Diggins looked really good. Brittany Griner looked really good. Diana Taurasi came back. She looked really good. So shouts out to Phoenix. Now they're gonna go up against Now this is a best of 5 series at this point, and they're going up against the Las Vegas Aces. And for the Chicago Sky, man, and it kind of goes back to what I was talking about with the whole rest versus being hot. You pick a Chicago Sky team that was on fire after beating Dallas, and you play, Minnesota. See, the thing about Minnesota is a really good defensive team. They were really good defensively the entire year. The problem is with Minnesota is they can go through offensive droughts, even with even with some of the players that they have. They can go through offensive droughts, and that's kind of what you saw. That's what you saw against the Sky. Like there was drought. There was times in games where they couldn't really score. Now, when they did score, they picked it up and that's the thing, man. When they score, they just let it jump fly. Aerial Powers start scoring But again, there are times when they have a really tough time scoring. I mean, if you think about it, like here, Kayla McBride, she played well. She had 19 points. Sylvia Fowles had 17. Aerial Powers, like I said, had 24. Outside of that, those were the only 3 players that scored in double digits. The next best player was Nefarious Collier who had 8. So only 3 players in double digits. For the Chicago Sky, Kayla Cooper had 16. Azale Stevens had 15. Aleli Quelly had 11. Courtney Vandersloot, who was huge, she had 19. And of course, Diamond DeShields had 14. So, And I didn't even mention their best player, who is Candace Parker. She only had 8. So, yeah, man, it's tough, man. It's tough when you're going up against a team that is firing on all cylinders. So, especially after just playing the Dallas Wing. So now the semifinals is the Connecticut Sun against the Chicago Sky, and the LA or Las Vegas Aces and the Phoenix Mercury. I'm going to predict that the Chicago Sky, I'm going to predict that the Connecticut Sun win this series. I mean, you have the best player on the floor in Jaquel Jones, and DeWanna Bonner has been incredible. I just think that the Brianna Jones has been really good. I just think that the Connecticut Sun have the best team in that series. Again, Vandersloot's really good. Candace Parker's really good. Diamond DeShields are really good. But I just think as a team aspect, it's going to be, to me, it's tough beating, at least it's tough for Chicago to beat the Sun in 3 games. And for the Las Vegas Aces and Phoenix Mercury, I know Phoenix is on a roll right now, and I think this is going to be a very competitive series. But I think that I predicted that the Las Vegas Aces were going to win the WNBA championship. So I think that they're going to beat Phoenix Mercury. I just think that Aja Wilson is playing really well. Chelsea Gray is playing really well. What's her name? Liz Cambage is playing really well. I just think that that's going to be a little too much. Even though that the Phoenix Mercury do, in my opinion, match up really well with the Vegas Aces, I just got the Aces. So, yeah, that's what I got. Also, shouts out to Sylvia Fowles for winning Defensive Player of the Year. She well deserved. She will go down as one of the greatest players in WNBA history, and definitely when we talk about defense, one of the best defenders in WNBA history. So shouts out to her. Shouts out to Brianna Jones, Maryland product actually. Well, I don't know if she's born in Maryland, but I know she went to University of Maryland. So shouts out to her for winning Most Improved Player. She went from like 11 points a game to 14, 5 rebounds, like 7 or 8. Shouts out to her. She's a big reason why the Connecticut Sun are not only the number 1 overall seed, but has a chance to win it all. But of course, you have Jonquel Jones, and shouts out to Jonquel Jones for winning the MVP. It's Jonquel Jones. She's been incredible all year. I think that I remember saying throughout the year that I think it was going to be between her and Tina Charles, seeing as though the historic feat that Tina Charles did this year. I think the highest scoring, or having the single highest scoring season in WNBA history as far as averages. But of course, Washington didn't win enough. But Jonquel Jones was good. I think she averaged like 19 points a game. I think like 11 rebounds or something like that. Like she was great, and it's definitely well deserved. And I'm excited to see how Connecticut. I know the first game was last night, or first game for both series was last night, but I'm excited to see what the series holds for both Connecticut Sun and the Chicago Sky and Las Vegas Aces and Phoenix Mercury. So, but shouts out again to Sylvia Fowles for winning Defensive Player of the Year, Brianna Jones for winning Most Improved Player, and Jonquel Jones for winning MVP. Well deserved. So, moving forward, the NBA Media Day is back, and So the biggest question at hand, of course, when we talk about what players coming back is vaccines. The two biggest, I guess, stories coming out of Media Day or going into Media Day or whatever was Andrew Wiggins and Kyrie Irving. So Andrew Wiggins is, I guess, refusing to get the vaccine, and because of that, he won't be able to play home games if he's not vaccinated. Same thing as Kyrie Irving. I know he hasn't gotten the vaccine, and I don't know if he will, but until that, he's unable to play in home games for Brooklyn because you have to be vaccinated to play. The league is in a tough spot, man. I'm not here saying someone has to get vaccinated. I'm not here saying someone doesn't have to get vaccinated. I think you need to make, whatever you want to do, you do. I think that it's your body. You put what you want to put in your body. I'm not here saying, get the vaccine. I think the theme of the theme of this whole vaccine is quote unquote do your own research, which I don't know what if medical people are saying get it. I don't know what your own research is doing, but hey, I'm not here saying some people are right. I'm not here saying some people are wrong. What I am saying is this. The league is in a tough spot because you can't unless you do mandates, you can't make a player get vaccinated. Hell, we learned that Bradley Beal's not vaccinated. And this is the same Bradley Beal and the same COVID that cost him a gold medal in the Olympics. And he's still not vaccinated. Again, I'm not saying you're right. I'm not saying you're wrong. What I'm saying is people are going to do what they want to do. And unless you do mandates, the league is in a tough spot because you can't make a player like Kyrie Irving. You can't make a player like Andrew Wiggins. You can't make a player like Bradley Beal who are all very important. Now, of course, some more important than others, but all very important for their teams. You can't make them get vaccinated. So the league is in a tough spot, man. And I understand that that's of course almost every media day that we've seen is always been a vaccine question. And I think that's going to be, even though I think that's going to play a huge part in the season as far as who is available, who's not. And you know, but again, I don't think that we should shun people that's not getting vaccinated. You can feel how you feel about vaccination. Some people clearly feel a lot stronger than others on one way or another with it. I just think that, you know, you make a decision. I'm vaccinated clearly, but I'm not judging somebody that's not vaccinated. You make a decision. It's your body. But I do think that with you making that decision, you also have to make what comes, or you also have accepted what comes with it. And for some NBA players, you're not able to play home games. Now, that will definitely drastically affect your not only salary, but affect your availability, because again, let's just speak for Andrew Wiggins. The Warriors need, like, you can't just not play 41 games because you're not vaccinated. So I don't know what's gonna happen there. Same as Kyrie. Like, the Golden State Warriors, I'm not going to say Warriors. The Brooklyn Nets need Kyrie Irving. Even though you have KD, even though you have James Harden, you have LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, Paul Millsap. They need. They did just get Patty Mills, which is big. They need Kyrie Irving to win a championship. If any of the big three is not healthy come playoff time, which by the way, if Kyrie decides not to get vaccinated, you can't play in the playoffs in home games. So this is the league is in a weird spot, man. And again, if you will get vaccinated, not get vaccinated, that's the discretion of other people. Like, I mean, that's discretion of yourself. You're going to do what you want to do. I'm all for people do what's best for you. I get it. But again, the league is in a tough spot because you can't force someone to do something they don't want to do. And this also can affect the status of availability for some players. So another big thing that we're getting out of media day is, of course, the whole Philadelphia situation. You're starting to hear, of course, Ben Simmons not showing up to media day, clearly not showing up to the team, saying he's never coming back. You have Doc Rivers speaking on it. He kind of got chippy with a reporter. Joel Embiid coming and said, he's disappointed because Ben Simmons is not there, even though Ben Simmons and he said Ben Simmons even knows that they can win together, which is so funny because like reports came out quickly after saying, Ben Simmons is doubling down. I don't want to be here. I think that's the funniest. But yeah, man, that saga is media days here, and which means the start of the season is quickly approaching. September, October, November is always big for sports in general. You have, MLB playoffs. You have NFL still going on. You have basketball coming. You have the WNBA Finals. Basketball, sports in general is usually, especially in October, starts roaring pretty fast. So I'm excited. And of course, media day for the NBA spells, the league is coming, and I think that the league, and there's a lot of players, there's a lot of story. It's always a lot of storylines going into the NBA, man. Again, with the whole vaccine, which players will be available, which players won't. I'm not here saying anyone should take the vaccine. You put in your body what you want to put in your body. You do what you gotta do. I will say this though, but this whole vaccine thing, if you don't want to get the vaccine, at least be careful. Don't be living your life like, I'm not gonna say living life. Don't be living your life vicariously, knowing that you can not only hurt yourself but hurt people around you. You know what I mean? But again, I'm not here saying you need to take the vaccine. I'm not here saying you don't need to. I'm just saying do what's best for you. But again, there's a lot of storylines that always come out of media day and always going into the season. So I'm excited for that. And before we go, I just wanted to say shout out to Lewis Hamilton for winning his 100th Formula One race. Shouts out that he's black. Now he is British, but he's black. And, you know, I think this is probably the first time I'm ever on this podcast talking about Formula One. But Lewis Hamilton is one of the greatest Formula One racers we've ever seen. And the fact that, you know, he did win 100 races, or his 100th race. He's been ranked number 1 in Formula racing for God knows how long. Shouts out to him. Definitely well deserved. Definitely one of the best Formula racers ever. And I didn't want to end this without giving him his props. So shouts out to Lewis Hamilton again for winning his 100th race. So. And there you have it, man. That has been today's episode of the Unpopular Podcast. I appreciate you guys for listening. I appreciate you guys for watching. If you want an Unpopular Podcast shirt, hoodie, sweater, sweatshirt, long sleeve, joggers, the link is in the description below. I have multiple different designs, multiple different colors. Click on the design, click on the color, click check out, do what you got to do. Hey, go get your Unpopular Podcast merch today. Also, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers. Come comment, you know, go watch past clips, go watch past episodes. Let me know what you think. Let me, you know, I like talking to my fans, or talking to people that want to engage or have a different opinion about something that I said. Go to past, like I said, episodes, leave it in the comments. We'll talk about it. Again, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And until next time, much love.